Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Tuesday Night Noir. This time we have the incredible classic Double Indemnity, which I will be introducing and talking about in a bit, and we'll get to hear all of my panel's thoughts as well. But first, let's introduce that panel. With me, as always, is my trusty TA, Big Al. Say hi, Al.
Hi, Al.
And we have the Klingon cleric himself, Mr. Troy Pacelli. Hi, Troy.
How do?
And the always talented and always charming Sound Engraver joining us as well. Welcome, Sound Engraver.
Hey guys, how you doing?
And I understand that a little bit later we will have presiding over us with all of her wisdom and grace, Mrs. Nanette Pacelli. So
yeah, she's just wrapping some things up. She'll be joining us shortly.
Yeah. So that's good.
What was the fan man going to join?
You know, he never let me send him the link just in case. He never said yes or no, and I'm glad you reminded me because
I just thought about it.
He doesn't like to give you any definites, but then he likes to be like, "Why didn't I get a link?" So I'll drop him the link there.
Well, I just have to say I have a very important point to make at a very specific scene. So if he's talking, I will kindly butt in.
You shall do it. Yes,
and full disclosure, I have not seen this film.
What?
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to watch it. Other things.
It's not like you got anything else going on.
Yeah.
I don't think Nanette's seen this either, but I can't speak to that one with 100% certainty.
Gotcha. Well,
Dark Stranger is asking. Dark Stranger is asking. That was my mother.
Yeah, I was just gonna see if Al wanted to give us a quick update, and Dark Stranger beat me to it.
Latest update. I talked to her a couple times today. She's sounding a lot better. They finally got the procedure done. They found some ulcers. She has bad bruising on her back. The reason it's kind of a dicey situation is because she was on blood thinners. Mm-hmm. So when something bleeds, it keeps bleeding. So that's where she's at now. Plus, they want to see what they might be able to do about a heart valve. She's had arrhythmia for years, and they've tried to shock it before, but it always goes back. So it's just one of those things that she's always had to deal with. But I talked to her tonight. She's more worried about me than anybody, of course. But if you can keep the prayers going, it was wonderful to hear from her. And yes, many tears have been shed over the last few days by me and her. But that's why I didn't. Yeah, lots of stuff going on. So
yeah, well, that's good. So prayers definitely still needed, but it could have been.
Yeah, thanks everybody for prayers. Thanks for asking Dark Stranger, and like I said, she is a beloved figure in this area amongst everyone. So everyone's concerned about her. So
indeed. So we will stay updated and abreast on that. But good news about bad news about ulcers, but man, it could have been so much worse, than just ulcers.
Well, like I said, I'll start with a fall on Thursday, and don't know if it was caused by that, if it was just a parallel thing. Definitely any 87-year-old woman falling is not good. She can't get up.
Sure. Definitely. So yeah, well, thanks for keeping us updated on that. We'll definitely want to keep
thing.
There.
Yeah, we have a big family, so a lot of people want to know. So
yeah,
I keep everyone well posted on Facebook, which is why Facebook is good. Sound Engraver.
Did you not see me accept every friend today?
I was so shocked when I saw that. I'm like,
it was actually it was a mistake actually, but then as soon as I friend requested you, I was like, well, I guess I have to roll with it with everyone else too. So I was like, I can't turn back on a friend request.
Technically you can, but that's another story.
Well, let me welcome Miss Nanette Pacelli. Netter's Network here has joined the fun.
Hi guys, how you guys doing tonight?
Hi, Nanette.
Good. Hi.
No, Nanette.
I'm glad that your mom's doing a little bit better. Hopefully she'll be able to come home real soon.
I hope so too. Thank you. Things are probably going to be changing a lot over the next month or so with us, but we'll see what happens.
No, she's still in my prayers, and she'll stay in my prayers.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. No.
We will start the movie in a second. We've got a different time stamps depending on what copy you have. I'm watching my copy on Amazon Prime, which is 37 seconds in. So a Paramount picture, the black and white is just kind of fading in. So that's about the area that you want. That's 37 seconds for me. I believe for Al and Troy, it's at 25 seconds. Paramount picture there. So just letting you know that so you can cue it up if you're watching along. Daniel Heron, thank you very much for the $10 super chat. Says, lying on my bed, listening to Maisie Star. Wow, haven't heard them since the 90s. On YouTube, reading the comments, darkness envelops me into its loving embrace of despair. It whispers in my ear. Are we watching a funny movie?
Well, talking about darkness enveloping, this is a good movie for that.
We are going to talk about the more common unhappy ending of noir, but how that's not necessarily an endorsement of nihilism because of the genre. We'll pick up on that. But I did put the link for the Facebook group there as well. That's where all of us tend to kind of contact daily. So if the live streams aren't enough, then you can't get enough of us. You can find us there as well. And Stephen Cruz, thank you for the $2 super chat. Said, love you, Big Al. He says, YouTube prof, I guess.
But hey, for $2, that's some love.
That's some love. I do need to take a picture of the portrait Stephen Cruz drew of me and share that to the group as well. You can guess that the prominent forehead is featured, but it's a pretty good little sketch, I have to say. So I'll have to take a picture of that and post it later.
You know, that's exactly why you should get a fedora.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Exactly. So this movie is it's just such a classic. It's such a great film. Billy Wilder, the director, is easily in my top 3 directors of all time. He's not quite as prolific in terms of different genres as Howard Hawks is, but no one really is. I mean, Howard Hawks just did literally everything. But Billy Wilder has done amazing screwball comedies. He did The 7-Year Itch, Some Like It Hot, the original Odd Couple movie from which the TV series was based. He did all those. He did, and he started film noir really with, even though The Maltese Falcon was earlier than this, a lot of people point to this film as the real standard for tropes and whatnot that comes into film noir. And he did this one. He did Sunset Boulevard. I mean, he's just got so many great films to his credit. And the one thing I really appreciate about him as a director is that he started out as a writer, and he won a lot of awards for his screenplays first before he ever really hit up writing. And this film was one of his first, big picture directing, not just a second unit director or anything like that. So I probably stepped on Al's toes there because he likes to pull all the Wikipedia trivia for us. But no, it's a great film. And this one, we'll talk about it more as we get going. But yeah, he's a strong director. You can see a lot of the things that he does over his films. We'll definitely be returning to him. So, any thoughts before we start?
Well, if anything, Al will make it up by taking the line that I usually would come up with when we start talking about the wig. Right?
About the what?
Yeah, he'll get to it. He'll tell you about it. I'm giving that
what line is that? I don't. I hate when people say something and I don't know what they're talking about.
That's okay. Let's wait until we get into the movie and see if you come up with the trivia. If not, I'll cover it.
Okay. All right.
Well, there's a couple things I know about the wig, but
there you go. You talk about the wig. I usually am the one talking about the hair and the hair extensions and the wigs. But I'm a tough guy, darn it. Don't say I'm not.
Unless anybody needs extra time to cue it up, we can go ahead and start. Again, if you're new to just joining us for the first time, I'll say 3, 2, 1, play. And when I say the word play, that's when we actually hit the button. And if your control's like mine, it's a second or two behind anyway. It doesn't matter as long as we're generally in the same ballpark area, so we can all comment as long as we go. So here we go then.
Prof, actually, do people know that it's on the Paramount picture and what timestamp that is?
Yeah. So 37 seconds. I said, I think I said that. Maybe I didn't.
37 seconds on Amazon, 25 on the Blu-ray, and other various collections of the blue. Yeah, of the Blu-ray.
Pirated copies. Yeah, Paramount Pictures just fading in with the black and white and the mountain and stuff. So, all right. Well, here we go. 3, 2, 1, play.
Well, speaking of Blu-ray, by the way, before we get into anything major here, is that most people realize these older films this was pre-digital, so this was all done on film. Yeah. And one of the awesome aspects of film is that if you can get the original print, you can create high definition quality from the film. You can't do that if you recorded it in like some low resolution digital. So as Blu-rays of these come out, or even high definition, they can do high definition of these. That is something to get a hold of before someone decides that they want it edited or removed or canceled for some reason.
Yeah. We start out with this amazing shot of this man coming toward us on these crutches. This is ominous, and sounded like everybody has something to say about the music. I don't know, but that music sounds so ominous, and we just got this shadow. It's like it's consuming us, basically. It's just walking until the shadow is utterly consuming us.
Well, yeah, Miklos Roca, I think is how you would pronounce his Hungarian name. He ends his cadence, his final cadence between that musical motive is dissonant, and then he actually stacks that dissonant chord with another dissonant chord. They're closely related chords, but it just adds tension after tension.
I want stoplights like those again.
well, that's a great shot. This car careening out of control, and it goes past a railway sign and then the stop, but it runs the stop sign. So like warnings and whatnot.
This one person doesn't know how to drive.
Yeah. Fatman's in the chat said he had tried to get the movie working for him, but nothing's worked. But he wanted to drop in to say hello anyway. Well, thank you for dropping in, Fatman. Definitely good to see you there.
Hello to the fan man.
I love your recent videos, by the way.
I always love seeing the old-fashioned barber poles. Even though I have a very contentious relationship with my father is a barber. And
actually, I didn't notice that poll because I was expecting red and blue. Yeah. You can only imagine it.
And of course, I think it's funny that Troy is actually concerned about a barber.
Well, like I said, because my dad was a barber, it stands out to me.
Are we watching The Barber of Seville?
That would be fun.
Troy, did you know? I'll give you some trivia. Charlie Brown, his father was a barber too.
I honestly never thought about that. No, I didn't know that.
Cool. I did not know.
Oh, how horrible! Your dad's a barber, but you're a bald kid.
Yeah.
When my dad first heard I started shaving my head, he felt so betrayed. I didn't tell him. I always hated the way you did hair anyway.
We've got this our Walter Neff here, our character comes in. You can tell something's wrong with him. You don't know exactly what yet, but he's draped his jacket's draped over him, much the same way it was with the crutches and the silhouette. Now the literary kind of heritage of this movie is pretty great. I mean, you've got, as I said, Billy Wilder won all these awards as a screenwriter first, and he still wrote screenplays that he didn't direct after he became a great director. But James M Cain was a fine novelist, fine crime novelist on his own. Not necessarily hard-boiled detective as far as The Private Eye all the time, but much a crime novelist, very hard-boiled in terms of the prose. And he wrote the book, which is quite different than the movie, but even he agreed that the movie kind of stepped up. It made a couple of key changes that steps up the story. And a big part of that was Billy Wilder, of course, but also Raymond Chandler, who keeps popping up. He was a co-writer of the screenplay. And apparently he and Billy Wilder clashed a lot on some choices. But
very contentious relationship.
Yeah. Well, Billy Wilder Raymond Chandler did not play well with other people co-writing. He had a contentious relationship with Hitchcock as well and stuff. He was kind of that genius who needs to work alone and nobody tells him what to do,
I did have one comment to say about the writing because it's very good that you said that. It's very interesting that you said that he wrote screenplays. Wilder wrote screenplays before directing this because I was thinking, I'm no connoisseur, me in film, but I was thinking, man, this is really well written. And Keyes, I really enjoyed the character of Keyes. and his scenes and his dialogue. Was he a playwright at all? Did he have any experience writing plays?
I want to say yes, but I need to go back and double check to be absolutely sure. But I want to say yes, he did do that. He was one of the filmmakers who came over from Europe. He was born in Hungary, I believe, Austria-Hungary.
Oh, cool.
And changed his name to Wilder, of course, when he came over. But yeah, I want to say he was a playwright at first, but I can't 100% be sure. Why do you ask?
Well, the scenes with Keyes is so well acted, by the way. Just his dialogues, it reminds me of seeing a scene in a play. Rather than a film, but it's not that it's off. It works very well in a film like this.
Yeah, the character of Keyes is changed a bit from the book. They really do try to make him sort of the conscience, even more so perfectly in this movie. And he is the detective, as far as having a detective. He's an insurance investigator, sort of, about these claims and whatnot.
Well, and he's not satisfied with until he knows the answer. That's what I did pick up about his character.
Exactly. He needs to keep going until he presses it. He's got that little man inside that needs to know. Yeah.
And I'm always fascinated by other actors that either wanted or, were considered for the role. Dick Powell really wanted this role, the one from last week's film, Murder My Sweet. He wanted to play this, but the studio wouldn't let him go. Then we had Alan Ladd, George Raft, Brian Donlevy.
Wow. I did not know that.
Jimmy Cagney, Spencer Tracy, Gregory Peck, Frederick March, all up for it, and but they were all passed on for the role.
Some of them could have done well, I think, but I'm really glad that Fred got the part, because he's so stoic, and you have to be a very straight man for this role. We see him kind of do the flirtatious thing when he tries to seduce Mrs. What's her name here at the beginning, but he's very straight and narrow, and there's a line that he keeps repeating: straight down the line, baby. We're going to do this straight down the line. We're both in this straight down the line. Now, that is a sports reference. I know everybody's shocked that I know that. I did look up to make sure it was a baseball reference. And you got those kids playing baseball in the driveway before he gets there.
Actually,
and look at how...
Stickball.
What's that?
It's stickball, because that's the bat that person was holding. It was a stick.
It was a what?
It was just a stick. It wasn't a bat.
Oh, stickball. Yeah, stickball. Yeah. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying football. I was like, I know I didn't get that wrong. I looked it up. Yeah, stickball. Okay, yeah.
Actually, I didn't know that reference. I thought they were talking about the train, like a train line.
Well, it's got all these double meanings in the movie, and that's one of them. We're on a trolley line all the way to the end and stuff. So, but we see Walter Neff very much associated with, you see baseball pictures all over his apartment when we finally get there. He's also very much associated with parallel lines throughout the movie. Like, you see those two candles up there. You see now it's parallel lines up to a certain point. Then all of a sudden we start getting them horizontal lines, and I'll show you. I'll point it out as we go. But can we just say Barbara Stanwyck?
I'm more worried about the curves than the line, my friend.
I've got to say, Barbara Stanwyck is in the running as one of my favorite femme fatales ever in this film. I can't quite give her the award because Jane Greer from Out of the Past has got a real claim on it too. But her performance here is something.
I was very, I did admire her performance. She gave me a sense of dread as the movie was progressing, and in that beauty that she has, in that scene where we'll see later when they're in the supermarket, where she's saying, "We're going straight down the line. You're coming. You're coming with me. We're getting into this together. We're coming out of this together." It kind of stoked a little fear in my heart.
Well, see, I'm so glad you had that reaction. That's exactly the one they were going for, because it's a power play. Like, when he first meets her there, she's at the top of the steps and he's at her feet, quite literally. And he can't stop talking about that anklet on her ankle, and, so she's at her feet, but of course he wants to be the one in charge with this plan, and she's using him for that, of course, So you watch the power play, you watch how she's Little Miss Helpless and just needs help. But then the moments like the one you pointed out, Sound Engraver, where she asserts her dominance, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, it's very scary.
And there was a lot of controversy about her wig that she was wearing. very hideous. That even Billy Wilder thought it was hideous, but it was too late when they were doing the film. It was kind of too late to really change it because they would have had to refilm everything. So he just basically said it's a wig to identify her, as I forget exactly what it was, but he came up with an excuse for why she was wearing the wig.
Well, it's
what
weird because not knowing much. Oh, you're sorry.
Yeah, so one critic said she kind of reminded him of George Washington.
The color is all off for her. Way
funny.
Too light.
George Washington. Well, I don't know a lot about hair and wigs and stuff like that, but I think it's only jarring to me when I think about her in her natural colors, brunette, and you think about her in movies like the Adam's Apple or Crossfire and stuff like that, and she's such a stunning brunette, and then suddenly you see her as a blonde. But I don't know, it didn't strike me as hideous right off the bat, but that's just my uneducated.
I think from now on, whatever classic movie I see, I'm going to think of Nanette and Troy and even Al and say, that's not real hair.
Sometimes it's not, but I mean, this is very obviously a wig. I mean, you can just even tell from the side part, it looks off.
It wasn't obvious to me.
Exactly.
Hey, Prof, you've got a message here in the chat from Serena saying she's waiting for you to get back to her about a comic script.
Oh, the other draft. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Serena. I will. I'll message you after this about it. I thought you may have got my message, but I'll message you again. Troy, I keep hearing you try to talk, but it sounds very low, and then somebody else talks. Are you having mic trouble or?
Oh, maybe I am. Hold on a second.
Oh yeah, I thought it was something bleeding through, but that's what it was. That's what it was.
Sorry.
I'm not even in the same room. You can talk normally, dear.
That might be that might have been the vote. No, I was just saying that
There we go. There you go.
between the color of her hair, which, as someone pointed out, way too blonde for her. The style of the wig, it's kind of a cheap wig. But it's, whether or not it was intentional, it fits her character, as you'll see going forward. One thing I also wanted to comment on, I'm surprised I haven't said this up till now as we've done all these noir films. One of the things I love so much about this particular genre is the voiceover narrative. It is so literary. I could imagine literally lifting it right out of the book, because you would be reading it in the narrator's voice,
and quite a lot of it is literally lifted out from the book.
And it's and to add on to what Troy is saying, it's very well done. In this film, he's recording something for Keyes. In the previous film, he was talking to these different members of the police force.
We've got so much to say about it, so it's good that we are pointing it all out, but we're also talking over some amazing dialogue, and that scene with him and Phyllis there. So many great lines, but as he left, I love that line you left on. He says something to the effect of, "Oh, will your husband be there?" or something like that. And she's like, "I wonder what you mean." Then he says, "I wonder if you wonder," and then walks out. Look at these parallel lines on the wall, the graphs, the bars. They're always associated with the shots of Walter Neff. Again, straight up, straight down the line, doing it by the book.
Now, who's this fellow behind the desk with the tie? He looks really familiar, but I can't really place him.
That's Edward G. Robinson.
Yep.
Is it? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did a great job in this role.
Oh, fantastic.
Soylent Green, 10 Commandments.
Yep.
And
Scarlet Street.
So many more.
And again, I'm going to kind of beat the drum of these lines, but you just the first time we see Keyes, he's associated with horizontal lines. Then they cross parallels. So making sort of the bullseye or whatever. But we're going to see them come together eventually. But Keyes horizontal, Neff parallel.
I had
or perpendicular.
I'll look for that. I did have a question about Keyes' character. Now you were saying he's that detective. Just based on his role, because he has to verify these several claims a day, but he's always wanting the answer and he's not satisfied. I mean, he'll go up to what's the main character's name? I'm sorry, I'm blanking.
Walter Neff. Yeah.
Yeah, Walter. He'll go to his apartment late at night saying, "I'm not satisfied. I need to know why is this happening."
Exactly.
Would that make him an archetype that is close to hard-boiled?
Not necessarily hard-boiled, but very much the detective archetype. Absolutely the detective archetype. I guess you could say hard-boiled in the sense that he's more interested in the insurances company's interest than necessarily the police or law and justice, But that's a trait that's necessary for a detective, whether they're hard-boiled or not. So he's absolutely a detective archetype.
Okay.
See, and I wish that I'd known that we had this film coming up when I did Memento. I would have drawn that correlation in the insurance investigators.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Keyes does have. I mean, I got the impression that he has a conscience.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy, definitely.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just trying to what could I make, to make him a hard boiled. But yeah, no, he's not without justice or anything. Now that line there, we see that as a repeating throughout the movie that Walter always has to light the cigarette for him.
Yeah.
And he's got that "I love you too." So you got this really father-son relationship between the two that's heartbreaking in the end, but it's really kind of fun to see it develop nonetheless.
I love that gesture between them. That's their signature gesture, but him lighting the match for Keyes.
And if you think about it, in the end, Keyes can't see Walter because he's too close, as Walter tells him in the end, and he's right there lighting a fire in front of his nose. It's like a fog. It's like, here I am, boom, there's a flame right in front of your nose. You can't see what I'm really doing or something, You can kind of figure about that a lot of ways.
Now, on the music by Rota, I think, I'll just call him that because I really don't know how to pronounce his name.
Call him Mickey.
No, Miklos Rota. But
Mickey Rowe.
So this music score is different from the previous three. His music score for this film does point back to that more early romantic into the late romantic period, and not really much experimentalism in this. And I was looking at his history, and it makes sense because before he was a film composer, in fact, I don't think he even considered film as his primary income. I think it was more supplemental income. Before he was doing film music, he was doing absolute concert music or non-programmatic music. So he has an extensive history with the orchestra and probably his head knowledge with all the great composers.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, later on when they go to the Hollywood Bowl and the mountains over it and the score of the film.
Bring that up. Dang it.
Oh, sorry. No, I'll shut up.
You're going ahead of everybody, going ahead of the film. You can't help yourself.
It was her. I wouldn't have known it until she made that comment. It was her comment that made me even put that together. So I'll leave it alone. We'll talk about it later. But Agent Boomer says Keyes is a good guy, but he's street smart. That's a good way of putting it. I like that.
And I love how different it is, where they're usually like poured scotch and they have iced tea.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's so innocent now because the maid. She forgot it's the maid's day off. How convenient.
The other
a cute little trivia I came across. The original name in the script for the character was Walter Ness, and they actually found out that there's an actual Walter Ness in the LA area who sells insurance. So they decided they better change that.
That's funny because in the book it was Walter Neff. So I guess they decided to change it.
No, it was Walter Huff in the book.
Huff, that's right. Huff. I knew the F's were in there. Yeah.
Now I don't want to step on the professor's toes because I'm sure he's probably thinking about talking about this, but I'll just be very general in saying that
it would serve me right. Go ahead.
I guess so. No, because this is your lecture, so to speak. But one of the general themes that I feel is important in these noir type films, you characterize somebody, and you don't know right off the bat. You don't know these characters at the beginning. You don't know, are they good, are they bad, are they what? But even once you start to go, okay, yeah, this is a pretty good guy, that can change throughout the story. sometimes tragically,
Yeah.
And so that question of, is the good guy really good and is the bad guy really bad?
You got another super chat from Aged Boomer. Says Keith
I read that.
Good guy. Oh, did you? Okay, I must have missed it.
No, it's okay. Yeah, the street smart one. Yeah, that was a good point. Go ahead. We could bring it up again, definitely. But I'm glad that Troy said what he said there, because that's actually a great segue into what I wanted to say about noir in general. It's the especially with me, and I hate nihilism, and I hate stuff that just asserts nihilism or whatever. That doesn't mean that everything has to have a happy, rosy ending. It means that it has to be appropriate to the genre that you're dealing with. And film noir is certainly different than a Superman movie, But also but just it's what you said. You've got people who have different possibilities within them, different shades of we can see Walter Neff, like right now he's getting very nervous. He gets it now. What she's trying to do. He knows that she's trying to get him to join her in killing her husband, and it makes him incredibly uncomfortable, and he doesn't want any part of it, and he gets out of there. But it starts to stick with him, and he eventually takes the wrong turn and goes down the wrong road. So film noir are cautionary tales very, very easily. You can see them as that.
He can't get that anklet out of his mind.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of understandable.
So he's an ankle man.
To some degree, every man is.
Just one step up, maybe.
Al says he didn't have time to watch this movie. What he meant was he didn't get past her first opening scene descending down the stairway. He just kept pausing it. So.
I actually just forgot my point. I was focused on the anklet, I think.
But she does, look at her the emotions that she's able to convey across her face just as an actress. I mean, she really can go from innocent flower to ice cold queen in a second, and it's really something about those eyes.
It's also the way, just the frame of her face and the way she can turn her lips down and with those eyes, it's kind of chilling.
Yeah.
Well, she gives me chills. No,
I do like
what?
that.
You said that?
I said that.
Okay.
I do like that it is dark without the nihilism, because these characters do see what they're putting themselves through or what they're putting themselves in, and that it does have impact. Well, that it also ends up, spoilers, it ends up fatal for some.
Yeah. You see the consequences.
Right.
We just saw him in the bowling down these alleyways, straight lines, and he said, I wanted to bowl a few lines. And now we get him back in his apartment, see all the baseball. You get some boxers too, but a lot of baseball all around him. Obviously a more modest room than hers, but you also see those parallel lines on the wall, seams in the wall, these straight lines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Professor, are you going to be speaking to the title and
Double Indemnity?
Yes.
Go ahead. I mean, there's
notes?
some. I mean, I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but go ahead and say what you want to too. There's no time we need to pick.
I just wanted to address that. This is about insurance, and one of the riders in many insurance policies is. You could have a life insurance policy, but it may pay twice as much if the death is the result of an accident as opposed to, whatever. And so
certain kinds of accidents,
certain kinds of accidents. So that's the obvious reason for the title.
And
I
double
promised I wouldn't
indemnity
get
is
too into insurance law. So
no,
I had to mention it and be done with it.
Well, it's a double pay. It's insurance is a gambling game. I bet I won't die. We bet you will. That kind of thing. Exactly. But it's also you get double paid back. You do something and you get double the pay for it. Well, I don't want to spoil the end for even though it's a rewatch. But there's double they commit a murder and they get double in return.
Right.
It's very poetic.
Got to make it look like an accident. Both so that you can get a double payout and so you can get away with it.
Stephen Cruz has asked in the chat if I've ever tried to write in the noir style. A little bit, actually. Yeah, I've got a short story that every time I've ever workshopped it, everybody said it sounds so cinematic. So I've been thinking about trying to convert it to a screenplay and shop it around like short filmmakers or something.
But I would say, like we were just talking about, how the genre lends itself to a screenplay anyway. I would just go ahead and write it and publish it. And if you want to also work on the screenplay, just have it ready for when the movie companies come knocking on your door.
Yeah, double the money.
So,
Age of Boomer.
It's always going to be suspicious if, it's amazing that person died exactly the way that he would have got double money.
Right.
Age of Boomer for $2 says Barbara Stanwyck, the quintessential femme fatale. That's absolutely true. She really set a standard in this movie. Absolutely. Even to the point of wearing the sweaters, like, oh, I'm just a soft, innocent kitten now that needs help, and as opposed to the dresses and all that kind of stuff. And at this point, she's given control to him at this point for the, at least for appearance's sake. And like that shot there with only her eyes lit up, so you can see that she's seeing through. But he's all straight backed, and he's the one telling her how the insurance racket works, and this is how it's got to be, and this is why we need to think about this and that, straight down the line, as he says. But we'll see that power shift change when it does.
She has an amazing ability to shift her eyes just ever so slightly when the light is focused on her eyes.
Yeah, and talking about playwrights. Yeah,
sorry.
You can't not notice it. It's true. But talking about plays versus films and stuff like that, that's a real mark of a film actor rather than a play actor, or stage actor, because you got to really emote with the close-ups more than just projecting the voice and doing a lot of the body language, from stage.
And this is kind of subtly introducing her backstory with her husband's previous wife.
Yeah.
Can I say I really love that sweater on her?
I think we already knew.
Yeah.
Look at the way she's sitting here as opposed to the way she was in her own home. In her own home, she was spreading out, elegant, her legs were crossed, but they were lengthened, and stuff. Now she's all curled up on the couch like a little wounded, scared, girl that needs help. It's that she's playing the part beautifully.
But she's maximizing her posture. It's only partially a joke. I mean, that really is true.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
Oh, I need to ask. Can you hear me chewing?
Oh man,
you got real quiet.
You got real quiet.
Oh, that's because I put my mic up because I didn't know if you could hear me chewing.
Sound engraver will hear it.
Okay, hold on. Let me just adjust these headphones.
I'm putting my mic up as I chew, and bringing it down to talk.
Make sure you have big, wet, sloppy, loud lip slaps too. Now he's talking about Keys. Keys is the one. We've got this man in my office, Keys, and of course his name, Keys. I mean, that's from the novel, but the key to it all, the one who unlocks the mystery and stuff.
Well, and it's also Keys that he's what causes the conflict. They could, probably not so much the money as we'll see in a later scene, but as far as murder, they could have gotten away with it had Keys not been in the room and had everyone suspected suicide.
Mm-hmm.
I thought for sure you were going to say, he would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those crazy kids.
Yeah.
For those meddling kids.
Yeah, meddling kids. That's it.
I love the way he hugs her too, and kind of grabbing her by the shoulders. Again, it's like a control move, a power move. And one of my favorite lines later, when she's talking about how she's very scared and all this kind of stuff, and he just grabs her, like, "Shut up, baby." He gives her this kiss, and it's like the tough guy in control. But of course, if he only knew.
I was going to say she also had her like feet tucked up, so she was almost like in a fetal position.
Yeah, exactly. Just looking very small, occupying as little space as possible.
I love how he's holding his left hand kind of in that position. We could see that the wound is worsening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing too, because it has to be subtle. It has to be okay enough to give us this whole story, but it has to get bad enough at the end to be what it is. And also just the poetic justice too of his hand being useless, his hands that did this horrible thing, you know?
That's one of my favorite parts. Favorite elements or aspects about storytelling is, as demonstrated in this film, that we know what happens at the end. We just don't know how it happens. We know that he does not get the money, and we know that he does not get the woman. We just don't know how it ends up that way. And I do like that kind of storytelling.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to take that opportunity to point out that we always are so worried about spoilers this and spoilers that. And that's exactly how I feel about spoilers. It's like, that's okay. Don't worry about ruining it for me. I still need to see the movie if it's something I want to see, because I need to know how it gets, the story is told.
If it's good enough, it won't matter. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's not good enough, then you're still not ruining it.
Now he's gripping her by the shoulder. She's like, "No, you're hurting me." And he's telling her there's no slip ups. This is the way we're going to do it, straight down the line. And look at her as soon as she turns away, like she's done it. Like her role has been played. I love that look on her face. It's subtle, but once you know what's going on, it's like, oh, you evil woman.
The evil woman.
It's like she's just gone bingo.
Yep.
And see, that's how female villains can get away with things, or at least have that upper hand by letting someone else know that someone else think that they have the power or the control.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the femme fatale. Absolutely. I like that little gesture he did too, just straightening the carpet. It's just everything's got to look proper.
Well, no, the first thing that came to mind when I saw him do that was, accident insurance.
Good point.
I don't know if that was intentional of the writers, but that's the first thing that came to mind.
That's funny. The machinery was starting to move.
I mean, if you think about when you're in an industry, it does tend to flavor the way you look at things around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of my professors in film noir once said that, talking about the dialogue and how some people try to say, well, it's, look at that. No one really talks like that. How can you say that's good dialogue? It's good dialogue like Shakespeare is good dialogue. No one speaks like Shakespeare in real life either, but that's the genre. And once you understand that this is the genre that you're in this type of story, this is how they speak, there's an incredible art to it. I mean, it's got its own cadence and its own poetry.
And before anyone says otherwise, no, during Shakespeare's time, they didn't speak that way either. They didn't speak in rhyme and iambic pentameter in regular day-to-day life. Okay.
Right.
Just saying.
And the same goes true for, you don't want to put that kind of vernacular or the way we talk in dialogue in novels either. You still want the dialogue to look clean, even though you want it to look real. But you wouldn't have the stutter or the pause or the breaks or anything like that.
And I would argue that no, sometimes people do talk this way. If you read these books, if you watch these movies, it will flavor the way you speak. I find myself doing it all the time.
Speak to intelligent people.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Fill your mind with more culture than you do like social media, right?
Where are you going? Who with?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Al, you might want to adjust that mic just a little bit back. Now we're getting all the mouse sounds now.
Sorry.
That's okay. But in the book,
it was close. Sorry.
In the book, Mr. Dietrich's isn't this horrible ogre of a jerk that they went ahead and let him be in the movie. In fact, you don't really get a lot of time with him other than just scenes that are summarized rather than, scenes that are played out. But I think it adds to that sort of, he can still be an ogre and it's still wrong. It adds to that the moral tableau, all the possible ways this could go down and the possible reasons it could go down and which of those reasons still aren't good enough or what are, and stuff like that. So I like the fact that they did that.
I don't know why I was thinking this in my mind when first seeing this, but I always thought the husband was actually going to be out of the picture, that we wouldn't see him. And then when we come on this scene where we do see him, it makes it worse.
Yeah, right.
And then the actual scene, I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Look at her smile as she just sees it all going down.
And that's the same face she has on that in the actual scene, the death scene.
Yeah, and I do love it. I mean, we'll see it when it happens, but when the death happens, we don't see the death happen. All we see is her face reacting to it, not watching it, just knowing it's happening. And oh my gosh, ice in the veins. I mean, that's like, wow.
Not flinching, not doing anything.
Yeah.
And he says that in his dialogue, there's not a trace of expression on her face after it happened.
Ooh, look at that little fringy.
What's that?
Her skirt kind of.
Oh, the fringe. Oh, gotcha.
Little fringy kind of thing.
Well, definitely. Like I said, we're going to exhaust and really have fun with film noir, but the next genre we'll move into after it is screwball comedies, and it's amazing to see her in screwball comedies just being 100% completely different and completely believable nonetheless.
Yeah.
Well, why a great actress becomes a great actress?
John Lithgow and John Lovitz acting. Brilliant. Straight down the line.
I think that's why I thought of the train, because they were talking about a train.
And that's part of it. I mean, you're supposed to think that, these parallel trees, straight line. But yeah, that's part, because straight down the line, even though it starts as a sports analogy, it's got so many meanings in this, and that's 100% valid.
There was also a boxcar reference, but I forgot what that meant.
I think they say trolley. Do they say boxcar too? I don't remember.
Or maybe it's trolley. Maybe it's trolley.
Trolley car or something.
I'm going to say boxcar can be a dice reference.
Oh. I wonder. I actually
gambling again. Yeah.
I have the called closed captioning. I think I have the words just so I don't miss these lines.
Now, we've got this. The daughter is again a perfect example of the actual pure woman in the movie. You've got the femme fatale, and you've got the pure one, just like in Murder by Sweet, and like a lot of other ones, the Out of the Past we'll eventually get to, and stuff like that. And when it's done well as it is here, where the pure one is the one that the femme fatale is striving to appear as. And they even have similar hairstyles, at least. I mean, there's no 40s hairstyle for women, but mannerisms, you watch it and stuff, and this, that's who the femme fatale is pretending to be, the wolf among the sheep, so to speak. But on the other hand, the femme fatale is the one who's actually got a brain. The pure one is completely duped by the men in her life. Things are happening to her. She's kind of like the Snow White type character,
Snow White. That's actually a great analogy when you think about it.
Father killed and the mother after her. Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
And she's the pure one. Yeah.
I like that he, because Diedrichsen has a daughter, it actually is making the contemplation of murder that much harder for Walter.
Yeah, he hated that she was the witness.
Exactly. Now he's associating this face.
And it also says something to, yes, these are both attractive women. Which is more attractive? True innocence or the appearance of innocence? It's got a little bit of fun behind it.
The forbidden fruit, too, the other man's wife.
Exactly.
Did you just equate fun with murder?
No, I was strictly talking about her worldliness.
Oh.
It is
weird. Now that you mention it, I mean,
Billy Wilder, one of his tropes that he likes to put in his movies a lot is to play with social taboos. Now, in this one, it's kind of, the marital affair is kind of like one that's kind of common to film noir anyway.
Sure.
But there is the taboo of him as an older man going after the younger woman, at a later point. And he does that a lot in his movies, whether it's Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis cross-dressing and Some Like It Hot, or all kinds of stuff like that. He likes to play with those ideas and see people's reactions to them. in the story as well as in the theater.
So there is. Sorry.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Al.
Because when they were filming this, there was food rationing. They actually had security guards making sure that nobody walked away with the food.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
And see, I never would have even thought that was real food, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was filmed in an actual store.
Oh, an actual market. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow. That's good to know. I was about to say that there is, in terms of the music, there's that motive where we have the, well, rhythmically speaking, I can't count it off the top of my head, but a very distinct rhythmic line, a distinct use of the brass section, and it has that.
Ooh, Farina.
Sorry. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I just saw Farina and I'm like, ooh, Farina.
Did you notice the signs in the back? Canned beans, canned milk, CAND.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just
so you're saying
I noticed. Sorry.
It's their motives rather than themes. And
Yeah.
you got the brass.
It doesn't really introduce this idea of this motive. It starts when you see the silhouette and crutches walking up towards you, and it also begins when he enters his office about to record to Keys what all that has happened, all that has transpired, and it plays around from time to time. But I think that is the motive for contemplation, for going straight down the line.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Gotcha. That's what it means for their scheme. Yeah.
Yeah. And the form, though, is quite romantic. It is set in that romantic period of the 1820s, getting into the 1890s. Not so much the stuff that we heard with Murder My Sweet, more that experimental stuff.
We've also got their meeting place here is in the supermarket, and notice this, everything's in a nice straight row, and then you've got the stacks of everything, and you can juxtapose those stacks of cans and boxes and everything with the graphs that are in his office and the bar graphs and everything like that. Same kind of thing there. Just everything's neat, orderly, and it's straight down the line.
I like how tall that room is. How high. You don't see the ceiling.
And I love that Keys is trying to get him. Keys can't admit that he likes him, and he really feels like he's the one qualified for this job as his assistant. He's like, I want you to know this, not because you're qualified, it's just that you're not quite as stupid as the rest of these people around here.
And he really knows how to sell a desk job.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I was like, man, I might want this job.
I know, really romanticizes it.
I like his voice. I really like his voice.
I also love how he's got, on one side, he's got a whole bunch of pens, and on the other side, he's got a whole bunch of cigars.
But no matches.
Yeah.
Right.
They explode in my pocket, he says. And that prominent watch in the middle that always hangs from him, that tick-tock, everything, chain of justice and stuff. Melissa Harris is asking for a Lost Boys rewatch for Joel Schumacher. That is a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
Great idea. Oh, I should have said, I forgot to. I'm sorry, guys. I just got so excited about the movie and we got to talk, and then I never welcomed the chat. But Melissa Harris was first. I have to give her props for that.
That's right.
She was first. And we've got, of course, we said AJ Boomer with the super chats. Mr. Matchstick is here with us. Don't forget his double feature anime this Sunday, which is sounding going to be pretty awesome.
The Weeb Watch.
The Weeb Watch, yeah. Wolf 10 Media. Love to have you all here. Happy you're here. Miss Serena, as we've said, Stephen Cruz, Madden Nui.
I'd like to say that Wolf 10 Media, he actually apologized to you, Professor, for not coming on joining my stream on the chat last night. I was like, why are you apologizing to the Professor?
Maybe he tagged me so I would see it and read it to you. Maybe
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
It could be. There's also the idea
about that. Thank you, Wolf 10.
There's also the idea that I think the group tends to see the professor as the ringleader, so he's the one we report to.
Well, when the alpha walks in the room, it's just kind of,
It's a given. Oh my goodness.
You're alpha by decision, not by nature.
Excuse me.
Don't make me beat upon my chest and lift something heavy. Seriously, don't, because I'll hurt myself.
That's right. He's the alpha. He's the one you blame.
And this is a tense moment here, this phone call with Keys in the office. I like that he tries to brush Keys off, and Keys is like, no, it's okay, I'll wait. Just make it quick,
I got this tension that was coming on, like, oh wow, the train, we're gonna do the train tonight. I felt his pressure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not contemplating murder, but I was like, and actually I wanted to talk to you about this because these are the two main characters, and their conflict actually is a decent fellow. How do you establish conflict as this film does, as other stories may do, while not really rooting for these characters? You know these characters aren't going to get away with it. So how do you establish conflict with something like that?
I think the answer is kind of buried in your question there. It's you have to want to root for these characters, and you feel bad. You have a conflict with yourself because you can't honestly watch this movie, even though you're a good person and you would never remotely dream of committing murder. But there's this psychological trick. If you are following a protagonist through a story, you are psychologically invested to them in some way. And at first you're wishing that he won't do it. You're wishing he'll say no. But once he does it, especially later in the movie, I think we're lying to ourselves if we don't admit that somewhere in our subconscious, there's a little part of us going, oh, no, they almost found out. Okay, good. They didn't find out. Wait a minute. What am I doing? He just committed a murder. He should find out. That's the trick of it. And that's the drama that these kinds of stories put you through as the viewer or the reader or whatever. And so that's one of the tricks is buried just in making that character the protagonist that you have to follow. And if you're going to play any attention to the story and get through it, you can't help but to invest in them to some degree. But then you also have characters like Keys around who you can also kind of assuage your conscience with and say, okay, well, good, he's there and he'll figure it out. Good, or something like that. So yeah, that conflict. And then the added thing about their romance, is that going to happen? Is it real? Is it fake or whatever? Does that answer your question a little bit or not really?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and if I'm of the minor opinion, let me know. To anyone who's seen, I haven't seen all the series, to anyone who had seen House of Cards, I think that's where House of Cards failed a little bit. I don't get the sense of nihilism with a character like this, Walter. But I did feel with these fictional characters, the Underwoods, I did feel nihilism. In fact, I read at the end of season 5 that pretty much all the good guys that were trying to find out what was really going on were killed. And then the main people were killed, and I was like, well, that's nihilism. And I think that's where it does fail. I think there's no conflict.
You're absolutely right. I didn't watch all of House of Cards, but I watched some of it, and I know how it starts, for example, and there's this trend now, like, oh, how despicable can we make all these characters? And some people think that's good drama, and it's not. You've got to have people that you can root for in some way, or at least some people like Keys in this you can root for all the way. This is why, here's Q Big Al scoffing, this is why I loathe the remake of Battlestar Galactica. Every episode was just a way to pull the rug out from under you on a different character. Oh, did you like this character? Look how evil they are. Oh, did you like this character? Look how bad they are. And that's not good storytelling. That's just shock value.
Well,
which is good for episodic television if you want them to come back in the end, but it's not good if you want them to applaud your end game. So that's why people look at Lost and Battlestar Galactica and like, where the heck were they going in the end? Do they even know where they were going? You might have had a good time getting there, but it was no goal, in mind.
Right.
Okay. Well, I only have 2 words for you. Frack you.
Perfect.
I hadn't seen the movie, so I don't know the reference.
That was their quote unquote cuss word in the future for Battlestar Galactica.
I figure.
How they got around that on the TV. Everything was fracking this and fracking that.
Originally in '78, it was frack, Felger carb, I think, and a couple others possibly, but
I liked Frill better on Farscape.
I love this exchange, this look between them.
Yeah.
Because it's the last time they look at each other before the actual commitment, the act.
Before the deed.
I wanted
go ahead.
I just real quick wanted to comment on something you had said earlier where you said, of course, we're all good people and we would never contemplate murder. And I'm like, oh, that's so nice of you to say, but I think about it all the time. Never actually do it, but I certainly contemplate it.
I watch enough.
Nanette, blink twice if you need help.
No, go ahead. Listen to what Nanette's about to say.
It's like I watch enough crime shows, you'd never find the body.
That's right. When we went car shopping, we said, how many bodies do you think we could fit in that trunk?
Yeah, actually, in front of the salesperson, we're like, how many bodies can we fit in that trunk? And he just kind of looked at us funny and said, yeah, I think we could fit 2 or 3 in there. Okay, yeah, we'll buy it.
I have to say, can I say something about this line?
Yeah.
When he said, I'll be back Monday at the latest, and you could see her look, I was like, you ain't coming back Monday.
Exactly. When that moment you mentioned, though, when she opens the car door to put the coat in and stuff with the bags in, he's supposed to be in charge now. He's making the plan, but just like when he first met her, she's above him. You know, he's even laying down on the floor. He's at her feet.
Right.
Now here's the murder scene, which is, and all we see is her face. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of dissonant chords with some blaring trumpets. I mean,
right there. Look at that. Look at that smile in her eyes. Just at that very last moment.
Like you said, the smile in the eyes. Yeah. But yeah, the dissonance too. I didn't catch that logically till you mentioned it, and then I could hear it.
Yeah. And here it is, that motive. Dun, 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 and with the dissonant chords. With the crutch. Yeah. So the act had been committed. The job. Well, they're not done with their job. They still have to. But the murder was committed.
And I do also want to point out that scene where you get that look on her face, that's where your whole opinion of her. I mean, if you found her attractive before, now you're going, wow, that's psychopathy.
Yeah.
She's cold.
Yeah.
Agent Boomer for $2. Professor Geek, have you met any femme fatales? That's a whole other stream, my brother. Yeah, I think you can't go through the world without meeting some femme fatales here and there, and some scoundrels and some all kinds of characters. But yeah.
Agent Boomer, you're making it sound alluring.
Yeah, because the problem is in reality they tend to mess you up. It sounds glamorous, but it's not fun in real life.
You see the honeymoon, quote unquote honeymoon for them is a little bit starting to crumble here because of nerves, right? It's calming for him to continue giving out the plan no matter what. And she's saying, "Shut up, I got it. We've been through that, you know." So they're trouble in paradise, quote unquote.
Well, he's in the industry, the insurance industry, so he's mindful of all the factors that would be considered with such an accident. So it'd be nerves too. Oh, car 9, section 11, 911.
Oh yeah, look at that! I never caught that. Nice.
Well, in fairness, this was before that had any kind of connotation like that.
Well, thanks, Troy.
Sorry,
history. Clever, and you just had to be practical. You and Nanette.
What Troy doesn't know is that's why they decided to name the number 911 because.
Okay, sure. There you go.
Yeah.
No, because back then, how would you'd turn the crank and you'd say, "Operator, I need the police.
Connect me to Bradshaw 212."
Right.
Gosh, when I was growing up, police was PO 51313 and fire department was FI 71313.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow.
Those were for non-emergencies, though.
Oh,
now
no.
Those were
look at this
actual police and fire department.
How this scene here mirrors the opening credits. He was coming towards us. Now he's going back from us, but we know what he's about to do too. You know, so it's just as ominous.
Thank you for saying that because I actually didn't. I didn't make the connection. I knew that he was on crutches, but the silhouette, I was trying to think, well, where does this scene happen, or where is he walking toward us? So thank you for pointing that out. And by the way,
has to be
nice train car.
That's a what? Oh, a nice train car. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's always somebody who wants to chat.
Isn't this the psychiatrist from A Miracle on 34th Street?
Is it? Al, you would know.
What?
Isn't that the psychiatrist from it's a Miracle on 34th Street?
Yes, it is actually.
Yeah, that's what I
remember. That's one of Al's favorite movies.
He was just in one of the previous rewatches we did.
Mm-hmm.
Was he? What was he? Oh,
I don't remember now because I don't remember which movie it was.
I can remember his name, but he's a great character actor.
Yeah.
Was a great little antagonist in
wearing his
Miracle on 34th
really
Street.
High for some reason. Did you see that? He's wearing it in his breast pocket instead of his the lower pocket. That was weird.
Oh no, I have hurt myself. I am dead.
And here comes another train. Wham!
And now again, little touches of tension that you get to see them struggle with the body and the placement. And then when the car won't start, I just want to mention it so we can watch it, but that's like, oh my gosh, their faces, both of them are so flippin' terrified. It's just, it's crazy.
And you kind of feel that, again, that tension and that nervousness as if you had done the act.
Exactly.
You were trying to get away with it.
Yeah. That's the horrible trick that, that's the psychology of viewing these kinds of things is you can't help but to be put in their shoes to some degree. And that goes back to Greek tragedy as well with catharsis too, let's have a character exhibit this kind of excess of emotion or excess of virtue or lack thereof, so we can live it out vicariously through them so we don't have to do it in real life. That's kind of one of the psychological practicalities of these kinds of stories, even back to Greek drama.
Yeah, this kind of with the swelling of the strings and the crescendo and using flatted notes and chromatics and all that. Quite much of that kind of Schubert, Schumann, Brahms. That's great.
I like that it's close. It quiets down enough for you to hear the ignition, but it doesn't go away completely. It still carries your emotion through that.
You want to know why this scene was written this way?
Why?
Because the car actually wouldn't start.
Really? Seriously?
I thought he was going to say something about gas rationing, but
So was this all improvised, or did that give him the idea to write it out and play it out?
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure if it was chicken or egg, but
because that's
the car wouldn't start, and it either inspired them to keep it in the film or write it that way.
Because that would be some crazy, amazing good acting if that was just improvisational. Not to crack up and laugh, but to actually play it through.
I do like that it didn't start because it adds to the tension of everything that's going on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get out of here. We're going to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how a lot of scenes work. The director sees something that doesn't go right and says, hey, that actually worked out great. Let's stick with that.
Yeah.
I did want to point out, though, one of the things that's really cool, and you can't do that in movies today, but back then, the car is supposed to be hiding there. It's supposed to be parked. They drive away with the lights off.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that anymore. Think about it. How would you turn the lights off on a modern car? You never do. There's always some running lights that are on.
Well, so many things are of its time, like the beginning when it's one lone car going down Los Angeles at night.
Right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That ain't going to happen anymore.
What Troy was saying about, sometimes you would, like a director would see something in a film and go, oh, wait, while they're filming, it's like, that was a mistake, but we're going to keep it. That happened in It's a Wonderful Life, where the fella, Billy, was walking off stage. A stagehand had dropped a whole bunch of film canisters, and he just went, I'm all right. And they just kept it in because it sounded like he just walked into a bunch of garbage cans or something.
Oh, wow. Wolfton Media said, "Did Mama Netter's network just say wham?"
But she said it like this, wham. You know, that's with that exclamation at the end.
I had a random thought with your guys' names.
We're
Nanette,
always having
Troy.
random thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm full of random thoughts. But I was thinking, you know how Wolfton does like the Mama Netter or Papa Troy. It should be Papacelli and Mopacelli.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Papa Pacelli. Okay.
You don't have to take it. It's
Something you can put on a
Oh,
spaghetti
hell,
sauce.
I'm going to
can.
open up a pizzeria now.
I was going to say something like that.
Sorry for clapping.
So now we got his great tension and worries after the deed's done.
I love how he's walking into the office, just his shoulders slightly stooped.
Mm-hmm. Like when you try to act natural, try to walk naturally, you forget how normal people walk, right? No, he's
Like
the
that.
first meeting with Keys. We get to see now the head of the office that they go in and meet. I love the way he tries to exert power, and like from the beginning, even before you know what he's going to do or how it's going to turn out, you can absolutely tell this is this little man playing at the big boss who doesn't know what he's doing. You know, Norton Jr. It's the son of the man who actually started the company, and they actually have an argument. You know, Keys says, "Yeah, you grew up in the front office. You don't know anything about the real stuff or this and that." You know, and it's even his voice. It's so all these affectations.
I must not. I must be dense when it comes to these things. I don't think he's that. Oh, I thought you said effeminate. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Oh no,
you were thinking it, but no, that was
Okay,
that's only a very small part of it. He's eloquent. He's well educated, maybe overly educated.
Yeah, the affectations, like trying to look at how cultured I am, and
there can be some effeminate aspects to that when you're portraying those kinds of airs. But the important thing is, you've spent all your time in your ivory tower.
Yeah,
not seeing it at ground level.
Yeah, and we got the white carnation on his lapel.
Yep,
high class, right?
Oh, right.
I'm always with the white carnation.
Yeah. I think part of it's for the black and white.
Yeah, I mean, a red carnation would get lost. It would just look gray.
Yeah.
But it's also something that everybody's wearing a suit, but because they're working, they normally would not have that kind of an affectation, like a flower or something like that.
Yeah.
That's totally unnecessary. Again, the big guy in the big office, though, wants to look sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I think Keys looks sharp with his outfit. I like his outfit the best.
Well, it's funny because from our perspective, he does, but he comes in and Mr. Norton's like, "Oh, is it uncomfortably hot for you today? Because why aren't you wearing your jacket? You look undressed, But from our perspective, he's just jeans and t-shirt. We're like, "Oh, he's sharp looking."
Yeah. Well, but again, that speaks to he's the worker. He's got you notice he literally has his sleeves rolled up because the cuff is one roll higher than it would be if he was wearing his jacket.
Right.
I do have one thing I want to say to the professor. I'm trying.
What?
I am trying.
It's an inside joke.
Okay. Well, keep trying, Al. I don't know what we're talking about.
Now, as soon as the deed was done on the train tracks, because think of a train track, you've got parallel lines and suddenly they're connected with these horizontal lines.
Right.
All of a sudden now we see Walter Neff start to be associated with more and more horizontal lines. Look at him right here where he just chooses to stand, especially once the camera pans out and we get a shot of the window. Mm-hmm. It's like the light of justice from God, like pointing down directly at him. No one else is looking at him, so they can't see it, but it's like, it's like the light of guilt, pouring down right on him. And it's those horizontal shadows from the blinds that are doing it. So suddenly you'll see a change. It's no longer the parallel lines he's always associated with. It's a subtle thing, but if you call it out and see it, you can see the progression. It's nice little subtle directing.
Mm.
So there's a picture frame in the back of the one armoire there with 2 kids in it. I'm wondering whose kids those are. Are they like the directors or something? Or
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I always
good
wonder
point.
about that stuff. It's like whose kids are those?
Did you ever come up with anything like that, Al?
Oh no, who the kids are now?
Yeah.
And take a look at that hat that she's wearing. Okay, she's got that veil. We're always talking about the men in their hats, but there's something elegant, and she's mourning. That's why the veil, but there's something elegant about the veil too that you don't see anymore.
True. Well, the veil is great for her character too, because she's been playing through a veil the whole time, quote unquote, with Neff and stuff.
So I will admit, when he said suicide, and I was looking at Diedrich and Mrs. Diedrich and Walter, and I just let out a phew.
Right? That you're supposed to, yeah.
They don't get the money, maybe, but
yeah.
But they went through all that for the money too.
Well, and
to get rid of him, that has been.
I'm actually forgetting what the policy rider type was. Was it whole life or term life? Because if it's whole life, it doesn't matter if it's suicide.
Suicide would break it, so it has to be the last one then.
Only if it's term life. Yeah. Okay.
I like the way that Keyes, he has to be, this is the big boss, so he has to kind of do what he says, but he's just belittling him in little ways. Like when he said, what was the witness's name? Jackson, was it Keyes? And Keyes says, yeah, Jackson. It probably still is too. Just like he's so like, oh, I got to be here and put up with this asinine kid.
And I'm sorry, I know I promised I wouldn't get too much into insurance, but because I've worked in the industry, this is so much how the insurance operation works. It's like, okay, we're gonna have to pay out on this. How can we minimize our liability on this? If it's a suicide, hey, we don't owe anything, Oh, okay, well, it wasn't a suicide, but was it really an accident? Yeah, I guess. Unless it was murder, there's only so many
back choices. In the day, if I took out a policy like today, and 2 days from now, like let's say I took one out on Troy for $1 million, and a week from now he gets killed, however, I could collect.
Yes.
But nowadays, you have to have that policy for a minimum of 2 years.
It depends on what kind of a policy you
life
have.
Insurance, because I checked into it because I was going to change our life insurance.
Because you were planning to bump me off. I know. Yeah.
Okay, so watch your back, Troy.
And by the way, I have not heard the expression bump you off or bump me off until watching Noir.
That's what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about. Maybe people don't normally talk that way, but I use that term.
Well, we're old, so
Yeah, that's true.
And I love this. I love how obvious it is once Keyes explains it. Like, of all the things you don't commit suicide by is jumping off a train going 50 miles an hour.
Right.
I like these kinds of characters and stories.
Yeah. It takes the drink. It's such a dominance play.
And he pours it down his chest.
Next time I rent a tuxedo.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was noticing. I don't know if it's 100%. If I saw what I saw, but when he was sitting down with his legs crossed, you could see his socks. And they look like they were like these striped socks, like not, something just very out of place.
That'd work with the character. That makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed this little element, but the cigar he pulled out, he had smoked it before and tamped it out because he didn't want to waste it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Relighting a cigar.
Nice.
I'm not drawing any story parallels to it, but it's a little detail that.
Which is part of the character. Very frugal.
Exactly.
Not wasting anything.
Yeah.
I've always wanted him to turn on that light in the kitchen, but he never turns on that light in the kitchen.
Again, because frugality. You don't want to, waste electricity.
Listen, I just want the light in the kitchen. That's all.
Turn off the one in the front room if you have to.
She will pay the electric bill. She just wants it on. Come on, people.
Well, yeah, because we're probably only talking about 35 cents in 40s money.
I bring up that point because when they're in the kitchen together, you notice that he doesn't turn on the light, and just there's sitting or standing in the dark.
Yeah.
Did you see the framed pictures he had in the background? The
boxers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's baseball there, then there's boxers, yeah.
The old style pugilist.
Yep.
And I like Keyes just walks it like it's just the way the Soundgraver explained it. Like he's completely consumed by this thought, so much so that he won't say hi. He just launches right into the
Well, because it's a mystery. It's a puzzle that he's got to solve, and his head is just that's all that's going on in his head.
Mm-hmm. And if you look at his mannerisms and the way he's walking around, some of the things he says, I mean, he's pretty much playing like a detective in the drawing room at the end of the movie, about to put it all together like this. But there was one thing that didn't match up, and what they end
the
up
Columbo element to it. Yeah.
Columbo, Poirot, any of them.
Yeah, that's something I always liked about Columbo. It's like, but he was always super polite about it too. It's like, there's just one thing, sir, that I want to ask you about, and he kind of put the whole thing together. And it's like, but he was always super polite about it.
I can't think of him without thinking of that movie. I gotta go to the can again. I don't want to miss nothing.
Oh gosh, which movie was that?
Murder by Death, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
There's a good rewatch. It's a funny one too.
Yeah.
Now this is great tension too, because Walter is he's looking at the door. He doesn't want he knows that she's about to be there. Any minute now she can knock on the door and walk right in, and everything's blown to pieces,
Right.
So great tension there as well.
These hunches he gets, he actually gets a physical reaction, like acidic reaction or something. He's asking for peppermint and carbon water. And aren't they lucky that those walls are thin enough that she could hear the two voices?
Yep. I love the scene where she's hiding behind the door again, trying to look so small, and she tugs it a little bit to let him know that she's there and not to shut the door or anything. She's the one behind him, the secret behind him. And
now I don't really know too much about these fictitious characters, but when I see these two together, I kind of think of Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. I mean, that's the.
Just the fictitious duo. I don't know if they were like that in real life.
Well, they were, they were real people and kind of a legend even when this movie was made. So, the man and the woman into a crime together. I don't know any specifics, but it's a fine correlation to make.
I like her dress suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, cuts a nice figure.
So much better than those ugly pantsuits women always wear today.
I like this. Walter Muta says, at Troy Pacelli, lies flat on my chest with chin on hands, listening to Mama and Papa Pacelli talk about insurance. This is interesting.
Smart Alec.
Ma and Papacelli. No, Ma and Pacelli. No, I can't. Never mind.
I like the double A and the Papacelli.
Yeah.
Now she knows the hold on him is her seduction that she got him with to begin with.
Yeah.
So this is why, she's like, oh, you don't care about me anymore. You're just so consumed with now she wanted him to be consumed with the plan so it would go off well, but now she needs to reassert her hooks in him, and that's the one he says, shut up, baby, and kisses her. Uh-oh. Talk about making him more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He's like, I just want to go to work. Not that I can concentrate on work. I mean, come on. Like, what position you'd have to be in? You kill a person and you're talking to his daughter.
Yeah.
Well,
and
look at her. She's cute.
Mm-hmm. And he falls for her eventually, so.
Mm-hmm. Lola, 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 Lola.
Okay, so I didn't know. Was he romantically falling for her?
Who wouldn't?
In the book, yes. It's not as dominantly portrayed in this, but yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that no, he necessarily wasn't so super romantic with her or whatever, but he does, like, he talks about her age and their age difference and stuff like that. And in the book, it's absolutely, he falls for her.
Oh.
But at the very least in the movie, we can say that he realizes that she's the one who he should he's the one who he should protect in the end, you know, and her you know, her
Yeah.
best interest and whatnot.
I do want to say, when she starts explaining, I saw her look at her hat in the mirror 2 days before the father's death. I was like, okay, she may be a femme fatale, but she ain't bright. Trying on a mourning hat 2 days before.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Not subtle in that respect, but she counted on the innocent, pure one not to get it. You know, like surely that she won't have the brains to notice this.
I also took from that she was so anxious to get it done. Like, you know, she expresses that she can't wait. She can't wait so long for it to happen.
Mhm.
I'm anxious to get it done. So
Yeah,
could be that as well.
I don't know the actress's name. For the young girl, I don't have that on me right now.
I'll find out.
Yeah, I was usually good with that and handy, but she's got very expressive eyes too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
How do you think Yvonne DiCarlo?
What?
Yvonne DiCarlo? What?
No.
Yvonne DiCarlo tested for the role of Lola.
Really?
Not Lola.
Phyllis.
The other one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Phil.
I
Wow.
can see that.
I think, you know, she was Jean Heather is the name of the actress. Played
Okay.
Lola.
Seems like I've seen her in other things, but I can't think of them right now. Now look at Neff in front of the horizontal lines, whereas before he's always been in front of the graphs and whatnot on the wall. The opposite shot of the room.
The hairstyle makes her look like a poodle. It's good. It's like it's straight, and then she's got these little curly puffs at the bottom, like poodles have for their ears.
You know, a lot of them did back then. They have those like little poofy things on top of their head.
Yeah.
But Yvonne DiCarlo, it was for this role of Lola that she tested.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because 44, she'd have been about that age. Yeah.
Yeah, she was young.
44, I think, was this film. Yeah. I get the number, you know, me and numbers, but I think it was 44. So he says he's, and he does. I mean, that's the reason he starts to call on her immediately, is to try to keep her distracted and away from her murder theory and all the, because she gives him info about Phyllis and her mother, you know, or Mr. Dietrichson's ex-wife or late wife.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. I'm kind of proud that I haven't had to excuse myself yet, but we'll see how that goes. Now, big tension. Like, don't. There's the guy, you know. So is he going to recognize him? Is he not? You know, that's something that was added to the movie too. It's kind of it seems obvious, but now look at how Keyes is laying down. Oh, go ahead.
I love that lounging chair like that.
Yeah. Keyes is laying down smoking in the exact same pose that Neff was when he was planning the murder in his apartment.
Oh yeah.
After he and Phyllis had just hugged each other and then decided to smoke cigarettes after the fade out. You know, he's lying on the couch in the same pose.
Well, I got it figured out because I've seen the movie before.
Yeah, Melissa Harris, stone cold, remorseless killer. Yeah. And Keyes gets it. Keyes, you know, starts to put it together. He knows exactly how it's done. It's just a matter of who did it.
Mm-hmm. It's the proverbial whodunit.
Mm-hmm.
And the logic necessary, because there's no forensics. They couldn't say, oh, time of death was definitely, hours before he would have been hit by the train or falling off the train or whatever.
Yeah. They didn't have the science and the forensics that we had today. And you've got what was I going to say? I was going to say something, and I totally forgot. It slipped my mind. Like a watch, his watch prominent there in front.
Now, I like how Frank McMurray sits down the edge of the chair, so he's the same height now as the other fellow.
Yeah, he's brought him down to size.
Well, because before he was towering over him, now he goes to his size.
Mm-hmm. And he's in the same kind of pose as before. We don't have the dominant. Well, now we got the horizontal drawers leading to him instead of the Venetian blind shades, but still pointing to him. He's in that same kind of resting on one arm pose in the background as the thing plays out.
But you do still have the graph above his head that's up and down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leading down. And it's dramatic irony, the fact that this was one of you guys were saying, it's a whodunit, but then we know that the characters, some of the characters just don't know yet. That's kind of a dramatic irony when the characters know something, or the audience knows something the character doesn't. I like that he's chewing on that match. Nerves, and this is the very match he's going to use to light Keys' cigar here in a second. Expenses paid, of course. And now here we go. It's over. Nope, we got a little bit of a look. And then that little bit of that boom, that moment. Yep, exactly. He knows he's seen him somewhere. Now look at the crooked lines on the graph behind it. No more straight down the line. Now we got crooked.
Yep.
I don't know what I would say in the situation, but I kind of would say, yeah, I've been in Oregon. You must have seen me there.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Stop him from guessing. He's going to get to it eventually. Yeah.
And don't turn your back on him, man. He'll recognize your back.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing he saw prominently, right?
There's something to be said for what's going to stand out in his memory, the crutches. If he's not on crutches, he may never be able to put it together.
Yeah.
But also putting his hand by his face to partially cover might make him spark something of, wait, that's why I know you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you notice his wedding ring, Fred Murray is wearing a wedding ring.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, they forgot it. Yeah, just one of those things they forgot.
Oh, that's funny.
Here's his comment about all the way to the end of the line and the one-way trip.
Right.
You're right. He is a wedding ring. Good point. I wish I could do that. Snick the match on a thumb.
It's difficult. It's very difficult.
I would light myself on fire so many times.
No, that wouldn't be the problem. You would just never get it lit. And then you snap the head off, and then you go blast it, and you'd have to take another one. It is not an easy thing.
It looks so cool, though.
I can see the prop trying to set up a campfire. Impress people hey, look at this.
I think it's absolutely adorable that you think I'd ever go camping.
Wow. I only suspected.
Outdoors without Wi-Fi? Video games? What are you talking about?
Don't you have 4G?
Human instinct?
Yep, there's our grocery store again.
No dogs allowed.
Apricots. Then no dogs allowed.
So no apricots or dogs allowed, apparently.
Yeah. Well, I guess they didn't have comfort animals back then.
No, it's no apricot dogs. They're being very specific.
There you go.
Now here's the scene where we're gonna see that power play, that power switch, because he's telling her now that we got to call it off. We can't. Don't sue. Just this kind of stuff. And that's a difference from the book too, because in the book he was saying, no, you have to sue or else it won't. He was still kind of in control, but at this point they really gave him the tipping point. Now she knows. Lola's been filling your head with nonsense. Look at her eye. Even through the freaking sunglasses, those eyes are blazing.
Yeah.
She's got very distinctive lips.
Mm-hmm.
So now he just wants it done and passed. Like, I just want to get away with this.
She's not having that.
You know what? I'm out. You do whatever you want, but I don't want anything else to do with this. I'm done.
Exactly. Stephen Cruz for $2. Camping. Professor's a regular at Burning Man. Yeah, that's a bunch of unshowered hippie orgy. That sounds like my scene right there.
Oh, if only I still had bit strips.
Now here it is. It's once they're divided by the aisle. Once they start kind of talking over the products there, that's when we see it play a bit. Look at her face.
She says, I loved you.
Yep.
And I hated him.
Yep.
I watched that.
Now when she takes the glasses.
This is where she stoked dread in my heart.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I feel so bad for Walter. Even though he committed the act, I'm like, oh, you are in.
And you notice what she said? You planned it. You did it. I just wanted him dead. You, all these subtle little threats.
But that's always the thing, isn't it? When someone says, I loved past tense, you go, did you really? Because usually if you really did.
Yeah, how many of those little things he's recording?
Oh, I didn't notice that, Al.
Oh, yeah.
They're all set up as little graphs too, like the bar graphs.
Okay, so here's the scene. I must talk about this scene coming.
What would you like to say about this scene, Senator?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me sound a little smarter. So, the scene with Lola, I think is one of the best treatments of incidental music, and here's why. This is incidental music because this is classical music. This is Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, his first movement, about 7 minutes in. This cemented the style I thought that Roza had for that classical romantic period. This symphony was composed, I think, in 1825, which actually is the same style he's using for his own film score for this drama. And so the way they slipped that concert music in there, I was like, that sounds like Brahms, or that sounds like, well, I just heard that. And I was like, wait, no, that is a classical piece. What symphony is that? And I was looking, and I had actually just recently heard that symphony. I was like, I've just heard the symphony. What is it?
I love that it plays before you even see the Hollywood Bowl, so you think it's just soundtrack.
Exactly.
Until you see, and then they talk over it and stuff, and yeah. And that's what it's called, incidental music. I like that. I didn't know the term.
Yeah, incidental music is when the filmmakers are using previously composed music, maybe a famous classical piece, for a scene.
It's funny. She's such an attractive girl with that hair. So unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
I must not know hairstyle because I think it's just fine, but I don't know anything.
Oh, great hairstyle, but it's poorly executed because it's a cheap wig.
I didn't know. That's a wig? Lola's wearing a wig too?
Oh, no, not Lola.
Oh,
you're still talking. Oh,
we're talking about Lola here. Yeah.
Nanette has not liked Lola's hair for some reason from the beginning. I'm sorry.
She looks like a poodle.
Now that's the difference, okay? Because she's got naturally curly hair, so she's got to work with that. She's not putting curlers in every night.
I like the 40s style of women's hair, but I had recommended you to play LA Noire, Troy, and they've used this special facial motion capture so they can get expressions of the actors in the game, because you're supposed to try and tell if they're lying or if they're whatever and stuff.
Right.
And because of the way they've done they've got really period accurate fashions and hair and everything, but the hair on the women looks so just like plastered down. That's one little flaw in the graphics, that the hair in the women, they can quite get right, trying to get the period accurate hairstyles, but
sure.
Anyone else hate Keys's hat? It's like all crooked and lopsided,
and the brim is turned up.
Brim's turned up and it's squished.
I didn't hate it until you said something. Now I do.
Yeah.
Actually, I know this is kind of jumping back a little bit, but I have to go back to that music scene. One reason why it was so brilliant that they introduced the incidental music, Schubert's Unfinished Symphony, was they were overlooking an outdoor concert that was playing that symphony. I forgot to mention that. So
yeah, the Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, that is cool.
Yes, go ahead and mention the Hollywood Bowl. I didn't know what it was called.
That's all I was going to say. Yeah.
Oh, okay, but yeah, an outdoor concert.
Now here he is checking up on Keys to see, because he's so paranoid now. And he said, I don't know if Keys is on to me and trying to play me. And this makes it even more heartbreaking what he finds out, though. It's
yeah.
When you've done something wrong and you find that people still believe in you and couldn't think you're possible of doing something wrong, it's like, oh.
And he's that detective needing the answer until it's an answer maybe he's subconsciously denying.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love at the end. I mean, we'll talk about it when he gets there too, but Walter tells him the answer was just too close, right across the table from you. And Keys says, closer than that.
Yeah.
Meaning that he was close, like, oh!
Yeah, that was a punch in the gut. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And actually, to me, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I spoke way too soon. Now I've got to go excuse myself. So I'll be right back.
And I'm the old man in the group. I just don't get it.
Actually, I'll say it for, oh gosh, am I blowing into this mic like way too loud? Anyway,
don't worry, Al's in the stream.
I know,
he makes up for it.
Great. Go do.
I make noises of all sorts.
I'll say it at the scene.
Oops.
Oh, I guess he's gone. So. I like that face. He's just sitting there on the desk, just listening. Yeah. Man.
And there is this expectation that I'm not sure is true in modern narratives. You commit murder, you feel guilty. It's just an assumption, because you always assume that that's a huge deal. Nowadays, I think life is cheap, so I don't think that's always an assumption.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, his motive for killing, wasn't it for Phyllis originally, and now he just wants out of the whole thing?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're almost done. So.
All right, so now I like that line. Goodbye, baby.
Baby. That is a good
Goodbye,
line.
meaning a number of different things.
Nobody puts baby in a corner. Oh, sorry, wrong.
Oh my gosh. Hurry up and do a rewatch of Dirty Dancing so you can stop referencing it all the time.
I will always reference Dirty Dancing. Thank you.
I like this angle, this high angle shot looking down on her and her machinations here. And I love the fact that she has the gun wrapped up in like a silky handkerchief. Like she can't, she won't touch it, until it's time. And talk about her acting and the way her mood can change so suddenly in her face when she shoots him, and what happens to her emotionally then, and what we see and what she says and everything. You really can see it. And that's even more kind of heartbreaking because there is something redeemable in her, but it was just too late or whatever,
Damn antivirus.
And I love the way they light a shot like this. You saw her go through turning out the lights, and the room is darkened, but there are still great highlighting lights so that you can see what's going on in the shot.
Yeah.
Modern films, it'd be so dark. You'd be like, who's that? What's going on? Where is she at now?
You can see her posture, how she's
You
can even see the shine of her anklet.
Because the room is still in reality fully lit, but it gives you the illusion that she's sitting in shadow.
Yep. And that's what film noir did so well. It was really because it was black and white, and you had to do a certain amount of it by necessity with the cinematography, but film noir would really try to make use of that heavy contrast. And
exactly.
Yeah.
And they're using a diegetic music here outside the streets, and it's part of the plot. He's like, I don't want to listen to this anymore. Shut the window. He's shutting the window. Like, oh no.
Because it's like a party music. It's like a romantic kind of thing, and like that part's over now.
Yep.
And again, she knows exactly. He thinks he's in control here once again, but she's got her own plan here,
And it's that smoking the cigarette in the dark cue.
Oh, and can I just, at the risk of being pedantic on a point, we never had strong women before the modern day.
Right? Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
just
Yeah, not at all. It's funny though, because film theory and film analysis are, quote unquote film analysis when it comes to academics, actually it becomes less about the film and more about a political agenda and whether or not the film is supports it or not. But feminist theory has a strong strain in film theory. That's where the idea of the male gaze and all these kinds of nonsense things came from. And so they hate the femme fatale because on the one hand, you might think, well, hey, it's a woman with agency and, doing things that, wasn't always commonly done by women. But no, it's just making her be the bad guy. And what we need a Ray. It's part of the great progression to Mary Sue Ray. That's where we need to be in the end,
I mean, talk about a character not having agency. If you're, born superpowered yesterday, there's no interest there. No character development, no interest in personality. This, I mean, when you're talking about, wow, she's just a great actress, just with a look in her eye, she conveys so much,
Exactly. And I like this, him walking, him above her now and stuff, but she's still got that power from that central anchored point. He's turning around her like a trained dog,
Because again, look at the her facial features. She's got there's a little bit of a grin, like she's ready to laugh at him almost.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. But again, it's so shocking. The change that I'm mentioning in a second. It's like, whoa.
She's like a queen on her throne, about to dress down the jester or something.
That is a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
She's so regally displayed there.
We're also seeing her mechanizations for, toward the character Lola and what she had planned for her too.
Oh yeah. To get Zucchetti to go and kill her. I mean, cold-hearted all the way. And that's, her dropping that on him.
Yeah.
And that's when he says, I don't like this music anymore. Don't like the game anymore. He called me out. I don't like that.
So moral of the story, don't fall in love with someone who wants to kill someone.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that cigarette she threw lit?
Yeah,
it did. It was. Yeah, she didn't snuff it out.
Yep.
It's like, who
Let's
throws
burn the place
cigarette
down.
into the room? Just throws it aside.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what a line.
Yeah, you better try it again. Now, she should. I mean, everything we know about her character, she would shoot again in a heartbeat and really straight up kill him. But look at her face. And we're going to see this one more change come over her here.
She can't bring herself to do it.
Yeah.
How's this?
Slowly letting it fall. And it's kind of like it comes to a shock to her, even her, you know? Boom, right there. It's like, talk about a range. And that's like supposed to be the most tragic thing, you know, that there, even in the end, there was good, even in the stone cold villain, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look how tender her eyes are.
Mm-hmm. Eyes that can go so cold and then turn around and be so warm too. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the murder happens, but all you see is her face.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, again.
Man.
Wipe your prints off the gun.
Doesn't matter.
He knows what he's gonna do now. He's gonna go confess.
Now he has 2 murders to confess.
Mm-hmm. But then this one little redemptive scene from him too, when Sacchetti comes up to the door.
Yeah, I kind of like this scene.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care for this Sacchetti guy, but I know why he did what he did to bring him out of the house.
That kind of makes it more of a contrast. Is Sacchetti's such a rotten little upstart, but at least he's not a murderer, you know?
Yeah.
Does the second murder make it that much worse? I mean, they can only hang you once.
Yeah. But that's the double, you know, what double payback, you know, he gets for himself and then her.
He looks a little older with that side profile. He looks a little older than his age he's trying to portray.
Sacchetti or
yeah.
Or no. Yeah. I always find it, maybe this is just me, but it's like a cultural thing. Growing up, the old people in my life were young people at this time, and that's the kind of hairstyle and the kind of ways they used to dress still. So I see that, I associate it with older now, you know, even though back then that was how the young hip kids dressed, you know, or had their hair and stuff. Don't ask me why. I couldn't even guess.
Like, go call her. Go call your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And get the heck out of here.
Don't get tangled in a murder scene.
Exactly. Don't get implicated in that. Yeah. And this is a great shot too, because now we're closer to him than we have been in these narration scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden he turns around and looks at us, and we are associated with Keys for a moment, just in terms of placement, you know, being the detective, because we've been figuring it out along the way, you know, or learning what's happening.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thing is, though, he was shot like in the shoulder. That's not deadly.
It is.
Well,
If it keeps bleeding, it is.
Well, yeah, he's being dumb and not getting medical help, but you know.
True.
Yeah. But that's one of the. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, there's the whole having to report a gunshot wound. How did this happen? You know, he's taking care of business right now. Man,
this scene got me. Like, look at that look on Key's face. I mean, that's a punch in the gut. And I wanted to say about, you know, this scene getting to the end. I think one of the biggest tragedies I find in stories is the severance of a good friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Where someone just goes down the line, and
you
there's
were my brother, Anakin.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Look. Edward G has the high ground. Look. See?
Yep. Exactly.
He's the short guy.
And talk about expressions on faces. Edward G. Robinson's expression there. It's there's some judgmental there, but there's also pain in it. Like, really? You know, my son, you know.
I mean, that'd be a hard truth to find out someone close to you committed this crime.
Mm-hmm. And that's even more brutal, not giving the big long lecture, just the,
Like, I'm so disappointed in you.
Yeah,
you
what
know,
is there to say, you know?
It's like when you did something bad and mom and dad said, "Nope, I'm not going to lecture you. I'm just very disappointed in you," and walked away. You're like, "No, that's worse."
I know that is, isn't it? Beat me, do something. Just don't be disappointed in me.
Your guilt is going to punish you more than I ever could.
Yeah. Now asking for just a few more hours. Keys mentions you won't even make the elevator. I like that Keys doesn't even bother trying to stop him because he's that confident in the fact that he won't.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the way he takes his tumble here. It's literally in the doorway on the threshold. That's even a great.
And the music enters at this fall.
Oh yeah, good point.
Pull the door open, and then it's that dissonant chord again.
Mm-hmm.
And then a solo violin, and a solo violin is significant because it represents maybe either a serenade or something of death or loss of love.
Yeah.
So,
high emotions like solitude or solitary emotion too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Major Boomer says, "Where did Walter go wrong?" It was a woman.
Right.
It's always a woman.
The wrong woman.
That's true. We have to say that. Lola could have been right.
Yeah.
He could have gone for yeah. Well, the father wouldn't like it, but
like that's somebody feel.
That's what it feels like.
Now, and most heartbreaking right here when he says closer than that, and then when Keys actually lights the match for him.
Yeah, this is the scene I remember most.
Yeah.
It was right across the desk from you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Like
He said, I love you too. That's the same thing he said at the beginning. He no longer has the energy.
Man. And he can do it too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it has that swelling of I would call it a theme. It's more stacking up, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The signature music.
What an amazing movie.
Oh,
just
so
freaking well done. Mr. Matchstick says he's been watching half the movie without sound, and you can watch the whole movie and still tell most of what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I responded to him and I said, "Well, half the time I can't hear the dialogue because we're talking, so I get it."
Yeah, because this is the first time you and Al were watching it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's oh man, Billy Wilder. His movies are pretty much consistent. I mean, this is one of the best, so, but, don't look for this every single time. But his movies are pretty much consistently that caliber of quality. And being a writer, paying so much attention to the dialogue and, having Raymond Chandler to help with that too and stuff. But as you said, you can even tell just visually, that's something that we're really going to see big time Saturday night when we watch Vertigo from Hitchcock, because Hitchcock was 100% a storyteller. That's what these directors, they know that they're not visual artists. They're not just there to supervise the actors. They are there to tell a story. They're not even there to translate the script. They're there to work with the script to tell a story. They're storytellers. And that's what's so missing in today's films, most of them and stuff. So it's just so good. But yeah, well, yeah, of course, Thursday night, our book study, Starting Scoundrels, the first 5 chapters, which are available on the Facebook group. If you haven't joined our Facebook group yet, I wanted to scan the first 5 chapters for folks having difficulty getting the book or whatever. That's another reason why I made the group private, too, so we can just avoid any kind of complications and stuff, So,
good idea. Yeah.
So, yeah, there's that. And then, what is Batman doing Friday, Troy?
Don't know.
Okay.
Second Cup Cafe. I was looking for it today.
Yeah, Fan Man had a
There's
technical
only one
issue.
this week, yeah.
Oh.
So it's only 1 Cup Cafe this week.
So, yeah, that, and then, Agent Boomer says, but Lola is so boring, right? That's the thing. The bad girls and their excitement leads you down the wrong way.
Well, boring because she doesn't get a lot of screen time.
That's true. That's true.
She was on screen. I didn't find her boring.
Matchsticks. Moral of the story: don't be a simp. Yeah, be Sam Spade or Raymond Chandler, not Walter Neff.
Like Old Time Media says, hit that thumbs up, those likes.
There's one of you holding out on us. There's 19 watching, and I'm only seeing 18 thumbs.
Or else somebody popped in at one point and didn't. Oh, you're right. Yeah, never mind.
Who's on now? Right.
Yeah.
Who's on? Who's on first? We need to do some Abbott and Costello.
I was just listening to them on Radio Classics today.
Right? Oh, that's awesome.
It's a good role. But yeah, so Friday night, something from Fan Man. Saturday night, the rewatch is on my channel, and we're doing Hitchcock's Vertigo. And I have to tell you, I said tonight that Billy Wilder is one of my top 3, favorite directors. Hitchcock's up there too. He's one of them as well. But Vertigo, the movie, is 100% one of my top favorite movies, period. Like in the top 5 ever. It is that good. It stars Jimmy Stewart, Kim Novak, a lot of other great people. It's in color. I truly think it's Hitchcock's great classic. It's long before he started doing the horror with the Psycho and stuff like that. So it's more it's a mystery to it. It's a drama. It's a thriller. It's a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
But it's definitely film noir. Even though it makes that cross into color, and we'll see whether that. And it really is a great exhibit of the anima, Hitchcock's or Jungian's anima, but Hitchcock liked that trope as well in his film. So that's really great. That's Saturday night. Next Sunday night is Matchsticks, Mr. Matchsticks We Watch with Ghost in the Shell and Perfect Blue. What's the name of the second movie? Perfect Blue. Yeah.
Blue. I almost said Redline again, but that was last week.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't. I'm sure I won't be able to sit there and watch both movies together, but if I can make it, I'd like to at least catch Ghost in the Shell or something because that's such a great classic. But yeah, that's Sunday night. Monday night, of course, sounding great for you. Got plans for that yet?
Yeah, I think actually I had an idea to cap off the remainder, styles of 20th century Western contemporary music, but also I don't know if Brian Gilmartin is here, but he mentioned, actually, I think it was Daniel Heron. One of those two mentioned if I should try to look into some, examples of deconstruction in popular music. The only thing is I just don't know enough about popular music to see if I can find it. But it's part of my research. I would like to cap that off for next week.
Cool. So yeah, that's Monday night. What time is that? 9:30?
Yeah, between 9:30 and 10.
Okay, yeah. Don't miss that. Those are always fun. They're super educational.
Whenever she wants to show up, that's when it is.
Yep. It's her show.
I'm consistent in my half-hour window.
It sounded great. That's Eastern time?
Yes, thank you. Yes. So look for it 9:30 Eastern time on Monday.
Which is 8:30 Central.
And 8:30 Central. Right.
Yeah. And next week's Tuesday Night Noir is going to be the second Hitchcock movie. I had originally, long before I started doing these Tuesday Night Noirs, I had planned on a while ago doing a double feature of Hitchcock, because you've got Vertigo, which does the great exhibit of the exhibiting the anima, and then Notorious does a great job showing the animus, the woman's projection of a male in her mind, and that stars Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant, wonderful classic Hitchcock noir, another thriller, spy thriller, espionage, psychological thriller, and that is going to lead into the rewatch on Troy's channel next week. Apparently, that's referenced a lot in Lake House. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
Casa de Lake.
Yeah. It's not like it's a huge important theme, but the fact the movie comes up at least twice.
Okay, cool.
And there are some references. I just thought it would be really cool if it was fresh in our minds going into it.
Yeah.
And I had a question, because I actually do have a very early Sunday morning. So unfortunately, I probably won't be able to make the Vertigo.
We'll miss you, but not a problem.
Oh, thank you. But Tuesday, do you need to see Vertigo to see the Tuesday film?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No. They're not linked in any way. It's just similar in themes. That's all. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
no, in fact, Notorious was before Vertigo even. So.
And sometimes it's really nice to see, a director, two different films by a director. Because let me say something. One thing I want to say about Alfred Hitchcock, he knew where to put the camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, my gosh, he got those shots and angles, and he knew.
He was absolutely big time with it.
Yeah,
it was. And the thing is, we'll talk about this too, but he worked with Chandler too. It's kind of relevant to the movie tonight, but he worked with Raymond Chandler too, on the Strangers on a Train, which is another earlier film of his, which is a classic, wonderful film noir. And they could not get along at all. He ended up booting Chandler from the project even because Hitchcock, when he hired a writer, he was not hiring you to write. He was hiring you to help him shape the story. Like it was a collaborative thing. And of course, Chandler's like, I'm a genius. I'm going to do my dialogue. And Hitchcock would throw out the dialogue because Hitchcock really wanted to show as much of the story visually as possible and less of it actually written out in dialogue. You'll see that in Vertigo. There's a famous scene where it's like, it's almost 10 minutes and not a single word is said, but you're enthralled with everything that's happening because you're following all these visuals and you're following these characters doing this and that. And it's just like, wow. So we'll get to that. But so that's enough. We don't need to give you our whole calendar, but that's what's coming up most immediately.
Well, that takes us out about 2 weeks. So.
Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight in the chat. Thank you, my panel here. Anything you guys wanted to shout out or say before we move?
Nope.
No, just stay safe out there, everyone.
Keep Mom in your prayers.
Definitely.
No, absolutely.
Definitely. All right. Well, that's it for tonight. Thanks, everybody. Had a blast, and we'll be back again. Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the stories you love.
Bye, guys.